good to have you all on board. It's another time with Tutor.io 2026 Tutor, and in today's tutorial, it happens to be another of our very first class we're having on the course POL326. Wanna apologize for starting this late week. I just had to take some rest, and this is why that's the reason why I'm starting late. Okay, well, hopefully our next class it will it not be like this. Definitely start early. I will cover a lot early as well. Since we are starting early, we'll be covering a lot as well. But for today's class, we might not be covering too much. All right, it's going to be more like an introduction. Okay, but hopefully our next will be covering a lot. So please just bear with us for tonight as we go through this together. All right, in just few minutes. Now, according to the thumbnail, okay, according to the thumbnail, it says environmental politics. Okay, environmental politics. Okay, now when we talk about environmental politics, what are we referring to? What does politics has to do with environment? Okay, we want to consider the relationship, okay, the relationship between politics and the environment. All right, that is what we're going to be considering in a moment. Just a moment. We want to consider the relationship between politics and the environment. And with this, we'll be considering certain terminologies as we'll be looking into certain things, terminologies that makes up environment, and how politics involves or how politics interfere or associate with these factors. Okay, I believe we all know how things have been done. You all are expected to have your writing materials and take note as we go through this together. Now, okay, now the level, something we need to understand here is that the level and pace, the level and pace of social economic advancement, all right, in the world today has important implications. All right, the importance of the level and pace whereby social economic is being advanced, all right, has a lot to do with the efficacy of institutions and promotions on environmental management. Now let's break this down. Very true, all right, you can agree with me to some extent that the level at which social economic advancements, all right, in the world we have today, the level at which it is advancing, all right, it has important implication on how effective the efficacy, all right, with which legislature and institutional regimes are being developed. All right, certain institutions would not have been created, would not have been in existence if there are no increase, all right, if there are no need increase between social activities and economic activities. And that's what I've been told here that the level at which social economic advancement, social activities, economic activities, the way at which there is what we refer to as rapid advancement in what we have today has given room for the creation of certain legislature and institutional regime, all right, in order to promote what we refer to as environmental management. We'll break this down, all right? Just stick around, break this down. Now, with this being said, it says, just before we go further, perhaps you might be wondering, all right, I said I used terminologies like social, I used terminologies like, just a moment, trying to adjust my material. Okay, now I use terminologies like social, economic. I might interest you, might be wondering, it might interest you to know that when we talk about social economic, we are simply referring to the interaction. I believe I said this already, but you might want to jot something down. So let's, and you never can tell. This is pen on paper. You never can tell where you might be getting your idea or your inspiration from. All right. Now, like I said, when we talk about social economy, we are simply referring to, when we talk about social economy, we are simply referring to the interaction, all right. This social economic that we can see here, I beg your pardon, is a combination of two words. Social economic, all right. It is the combination of two words, social and economic. Social is a word on its own. Economic is a word on its own. Now we are bringing both together. Why are we applying both together? Now, when we talk about social economic, we are referring to the interaction between social and economic factors. All right? We are referring to the interaction between social and economic factors. Are we together? We are simply referring to the interaction between social and economic factors. Now, be reminded that what brought us here is the expansion, all right, of what we said from the very beginning, referring to the fact that the pace at which, okay, referring to the fact that the pace at which social economic advancements in the world today, all right, the pace at which this advancement is going, all right, or the pace at which this advancement is trending, it has made it very important. It has made it very necessary, all right, for the creation or the development of certain legislature, certain rules and regulation policies, as well as institutional regimes, all right, in order to cater for the level of this advancement, all right. And I said, when we say social economic, we are talking about the interaction between social and economic factors. Social factors are, economic factors are. Now, one thing we need to understand here is when we talk about social factors, we are referring to education, we are referring to race, we are referring to class, we are referring to gender. All right. Now, when we talk about economic factor, we are simply referring to employment, income, wealth, and so on and so forth. All right. Now you can imagine, you can by now you can even tell that there is so much relationship between social factors, which are gender, which are education, which are class, which are race. Okay, I think we are live again now. That was a thing from the network. Okay, can you hear me now? Can we hear me now? That was a thing from the network. Is it better now? Okay. Oh, wonderful. Please, Miss Regina, Mrs. Regina, can you confirm if you can hear me now? Oh, wonderful. So now, I'm taking out time to explain the relationship between these factors before we go into details, okay? So please, I need you to pay detailed attention to everything we are doing in tonight's class, all right? So now, I haven't talked about social economic factors. I haven't talked about what it means by institutional regimes. Let's take a step further now. Now, like I said, just as we have the course titled as environmental politics, all right? Environmental, environment, and politics, these are two independent words we are bringing together. So, if you want to understand what it means by environmental politics, then we need to dissect each of these words appropriately. All right. So, in the process of doing that, we will also be talking about the use of certain terminologies, all right, in order to help understand the combination of both words, which is environmental politics. So, we might be talking about environment first, then we'll talk about politics thereafter. Now, one thing you need to pay attention to now is that in the developing countries, particularly, all right, imperatives of rapid social and economic development could influence the political will to initiate, implement, and enforce appropriate environmental policies. Now, what are we saying here? Now that we understand that social economic factors, all right, are rapidly growing, the need for government, this is where politics comes in now, the need for government to begin to put into considerations the establishment of structures that will help protect, that will help regulate and organize these factors has become imperative, has become unavoidable. Are we together? Now, with this being said, now let's talk about what it means by the term environment. Okay, please, if you don't understand anything at any point, please do not hesitate to call my attention to it. Now we have this word is not totally new to us. When we were taking the class, when we are taking the course HED, that's a very important, that's a major to students in the Department of Health Education. We were taking the course HED 313, and I was trying to explain to them that the word health is a general word that we all seem to be familiar with. All right, but do you know that we have been applying that word in the wrong sense, or we have the wrong mentality about what it means by health? All right, so we started dissecting it, and we discovered a whole lot of things hidden behind or hidden under that word and its application. Same thing goes for environment here. All right. Now we're trying to look into what it means by environment according to the course material. All right, POL326. Now, what do we have here? It says the environment is everything. All right, everything that creates natural condition. All right, everything everything that makes provision for, everything that makes, or everything that allows the accommodation, all right, of existence of organisms. Now I'm trying to see how we can break this down properly so we can understand. Every organism has its own environment, and that is to say, certain organisms you pick from an environment to environment, such organism would not survive. Why? Because the organism cannot or is unable to adapt to that environment because it is not its environment. Yeah, we have certain organisms that can easily adapt, all right, but it will take a toll on such organism. All right. So what are we saying in essence? Everything that creates, that accommodates, that allows an organism to survive, all right, in a particular space as environment. But according to the course material, it says everything that creates natural condition. So we have natural condition. Everything that creates natural condition, all right, of the existence of organism, condition of the existence, they refer to this as the environment of such organism. So we have that as that. Like I said, it's not going to be a long one, so let's just call it a wrap here. Everything is short. Everything is almost shutting down already. So I wouldn't want the whole thing to just shut down unexpectedly. So hopefully, by the grace of God, in our next class, we should be doing it should be a minimum of 30 minutes or more than 30 minutes. So I believe we have the basic understanding of what it means by institutional regime, social economic factors, social economic self, and the environment. So in our next class, we'll take it up from, all right, in our next class, we'll take it up from natural resources as we'll be relating, all right, certain terminologies to our discussion tonight. Thank you very much, everyone. I believe you've been able to gain something in tonight's class. Let's do well to keep our notes up to date and send them to the appropriate courses. Have a wonderful evening and bye for now.